Welcome to WagerTalk TV, where baseball season is underway. So I've got Mr. Baseball himself, Bryan Leonard. Bryan and I are going to talk about some MLB handicapping tips and advice. But first, I want to give you guys 25% off of your choice of any of Bryan Leonard's 3-day, 7-day, 30-day, 90-day, or 365-day all-access membership using coupon code B25 at checkout. Bryan finished MLB last season ranked #1 at WagerTalk with a total profit above 112%. This season, he is currently #1 in baseball with a total bankroll increase of almost 33%. Bryan, you have won 9 straight. And I would be asking for your plays, but I know what happened last summer as soon as I jumped on board. You guys, it was bad. I feel really bad about it, so I just stopped.
Jinxes, don't worry about it.
I believe in jinxes because that was, I mean, Bryan was on an absolute monster run, and then Kelly comes on board, and not so good. But Bryan, let's talk about handicapping in general. Let's talk about some of the biggest mistakes sports bettors, maybe recreational guys, amateur guys, or even some professionals tend to make. So when I'm looking at a game, what's the first thing I'm looking at? I'm looking at the pitchers, right? I want to know the pitching matchup. Tell me why that starting there maybe is a mistake.
Yeah, it used to be when you'd have starters. This is before you were born, back in the olden days. The starters would go the entire game. They would go 7-8 innings, and that was really what you would base yourself on. You base on the batters and the starting pitchers. Well, obviously it's a different game anymore, and so many people take a look at the starting pitchers and base everything on that. You've just got to realize these guys only go 5 innings for the most part, so that's basically a half of a bet. So you have to take into account the bullpens and how the bullpens were used the game before. So it's basically half as much value as it was in the old times. So you just got to keep and realize that you may have Chris Sale going. Well, as we saw today, Kluber gets hit pretty well today, and you're screwed at that point.
Yes. Okay. Another thing that you have listed here, playing teams instead of the lines, which I always tell people, guys, we're betting the numbers here, not the teams. Please elaborate on that.
Yeah. Look at the New York Yankees right now. The Yankees have got so many injuries on that team, and my numbers are coming out, and they're saying play the Yankees. Well, they're saying play the Yankees with all those guys healthy. You take a look at that Yankees lineup now. They've got like 3 or 4 guys that would normally be starting. They're in there, and everybody's looking to play the Yankees. They're still $2 favorites in these games. Even though when you take a look at what the actual lineups are for both these teams, the other team has a lot of advantages in it. So you just can't play, the Red Sox. The Red Sox are terrible this year.
So certain teams, it's no different than any other sport. You may be laying a premium to bet those teams.
You are laying a premium to bet those teams. And, for example, coming into the season, nobody liked Baltimore, and that was one that took over. Nobody liked Seattle. Seattle's 7-1. It's a short sample size, granted. But if you come into the season and you hate these teams, they don't have the talent, teams go on winning and losing streaks. And keep in mind, in football, you play 10 games, you're either good or bad at that point. In baseball, it's only 1/16 of the entire season. So
that's very true. Okay, I'm going to fuse number 3 and 4 together. Everybody knows I love the underdogs, and that is kind of my biggest beef with baseball. So you have number 4 is people don't play big favorites. Big favorites scare me. I don't want to lay 3-1 because if it loses, I'm in a world of hurt.
You definitely are, and you've got to be very selective when you are. But if you're playing road favorites of, I believe it was 170 or more just the last 5 years, Johnny actually tweeted this out. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's been a big moneymaker because nobody wants to play that. And keep in mind, in baseball, your home team only wins basically 52% of the time. So you're looking at a team that should be if 2 teams are equal, they're like -110, -115. So there's a lot of advantages in playing the road team. The road team gets that 9th at bat in the 9th inning, where if the home team is winning, they don't bat that 9th time if you're playing the run line, that kind of thing. So you can see value on playing favorites. You just have to pay a lot of attention, and part of it is making your own lines.
So some of these teams might not be premium teams, or not named the Boston Red Sox, but they have premium players like the Phillies or the Angels. Your thoughts on betting teams like that?
Yeah, you can find a lot of nice underdogs when you've got teams like that may not have their best pitchers going, and we've seen this in the past.
But because Bryce Harper plays for them, people tend to bet them.
Well, people tend to bet people with the big stars on them. But I'm watching this Miami team coming into the season. Nobody. They're playing in a division. They're by far the worst team in their division. When you take a look at the personnel, I'm loving this Miami team. In a couple of years, this Miami team is going to be a contender. Right now, nobody knows any of their players. They had 2 good players last year.
I'm trying to think in my head.
They traded them away. Yeah, they've got a bunch of
Carlos Stanton's gone.
They had the catcher was the best catcher in baseball. You mentioned the Phillies. He's playing for the Phillies now. This is a team that's got a lot of nice talent, and I like the way they're playing. They're playing about 500 ball right now, but when you're playing them, you're getting plus money every time, and that's really what you're looking for.
Okay, so you have here what time of day you should be betting, and a mistake is betting later in the day. When is the most optimal time to be putting in your baseball bets?
If you're doing your work, your best time is overnight.
Okay.
Now, obviously, your limits are lower when you're playing overnight, but there's so many people now that are betting into the overnights as opposed to years ago where they would wait until the lines went up higher as the day went on. People are just jumping in with that $500,000 bets, and they're taking your line away. So by the time, if for example today, I liked Houston last night, they're like, well, I won 65. I said, I'll just wait. I can't give it out to clients. It's just not enough liquidity in the market. I wake up today, they're minus 190. All of a sudden, I lost a bet. I just can't get that bet in. But I don't want people to buy my plays at 165. Then all of a sudden, their guy opens in the morning. And
hey, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, you're in a no-win situation in that regard.
Yeah, I do. And the last thing you have is having limited outs. We preach about this a lot in regards to being able to line shop. And it's, I believe, probably most important in baseball.
You made a great point. It is very much important in baseball is because in baseball, you're playing money lines. Whereas in football and basketball, you're playing basically your
and for the most part, they're kind of the same.
And they're all the same, especially here in Vegas.
Yeah.
Now that we got 5 or 6 brands here in Vegas, if the line's 5.5, you may find a 5 somewhere else or a 6
only if a book
somewhere
really
else.
needs it. Yeah.
Yeah, but for the most part in baseball, you're getting different numbers everywhere, and it's so much better to be able to take a plus 102 as opposed to a minus 108. That's 10 cents. That's worth like a half a point when you're looking at football and basketball. And there's a lot of places where you can really shop around.
All right, I'll let you have the last word. Anything else you want to tell people to maybe avoid when handicapping baseball? Any major mistakes?
Yeah, people tend to play small sample sizes. We just talked about the Baltimores and the Seattles. Now, I still expect those teams to be
meh
on the season, but it's nice that they've gotten off to a nice start. But you have to pay attention to that, and certain teams will have up and downs all season long, just like they do in baseball and football, or excuse me, basketball and football, and you can ride teams that are playing well. And one of the things I like to look at is the people who are betting the overnights in baseball are professionals betting the overnights.
Right.
If a game that you like, the line moves against you early, instead of betting it right then, just wait and see if there's something that you've missed in that game.
Okay. All right, good stuff. All right, I'm supposed to give out Bryan's thing again, but it's not on the teleprompter. 25% off your choice of Bryan Leonard's package, any of them, all access membership. Use coupon code B25 at checkout. And also, don't forget, if you're not a member of the WagerTalk text club, you're missing out. Just text WagerTalk to 33222 to get a $10 coupon for signing up.